So what I like to do first with all of these is to make sure I understand what's happening in the program. So why don't we go ahead and run this as is for now. I'm going to run it. I don't like that it doesn't have a title at the top. You guys know I'm particular about that now. So if I was to just enter my name, it is going to give an error message to the user. It says you have to enter your full name. And you can pretty much guess that what they're doing here is they're just checking to see if there is some sort of a space in between in your character string at all. And then password, I always like to put 12345 as my test password. And again, it's going to validate, hey, this needs to be 8 characters. So that's obviously checking for the length. And it needs to have 1 digit and 1 uppercase letter. Well, obviously I have a digit, but it's just giving me this message for anything that doesn't match. I don't have an uppercase letter. So it's going to ask me to do it again. So this is 2020. That should work. And then once those 2 things are created, it is going to say, okay, cool. Yeah, we did something, but of course we're not really doing anything. So let's take a look at the actual code here. I put my main at the bottom because I always like my main to be the very last thing. And so if mine looks a little different, that's because I just copied and pasted this to the bottom. But so we start with main. And the first thing that happens is we're going to call the get full name function. And then whatever is returned from that, we're going to assign to a variable called full name. So let's take a look at the get full name function. That's up here at the top. So get full name, we're going to do a while true. So basically it's going to continue to go through until we actually get this correct. Enter full name. And what does the dot strip mean?
It cuts off the spaces.
Right, so if there are any spaces at the beginning or the end, it will remove those from the string. It's not going to remove the spaces in the middle. So if this space is in the name, return the name. So the reason it's important to use that dot strip is because if someone put a space at the beginning or a space at the end of their name, it's going to clear this if, and it might not be 2 names. It might not be the first and last name. Okay, so if there is a space in the name string, we're going to go ahead and return the name. Else, we're going to send the message, you must enter your full name, and that'll go back to the input until we'll just keep looping through there until we actually make that happen. So return name is going to send us back to the main. And now full name is assigned the name string that we've just put in. Then we're going to do the same thing here with password. We're going to call get password. And let's take a look at what's happening in get password. So we're going to do the same thing while true. We're setting our, basically our checks, right? A check if there is a digit, which is a number, to false. And a check if there is a capital letter to false. And that way, when we find one, we can turn those into true statements. So here we're going to enter password. Again, we're going to put a strip on that. So we take out any whites or any spaces at the beginning or end. And then for character in password, we're going to check. So we're going to loop through every single character. So when I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's going to say, okay, is this character a digit? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 0? If so, then we're switching digit from false to true. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 became true. And then we're going to, if it's not a digit, we're going to go through and check to see if it's an uppercase letter. And if it is, we're going to switch capital letter from false to true. So obviously with my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I got digit equals true, 5 times basically, but I never came in to this line. So capital letter was never changed to true. Then we've got this if statement that's basically saying if digit is false. So if there wasn't a digit found, or capital letter is false, or the length of this string is less than 8, then print this out. So in my case, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this would have been true, but capital letter would have been false, and the length of the password would have been less than 8. So I would have failed on both of those and would have gotten the message, which I did. If it passes all of those tests, we're going to return the password and save that as a variable called password. Then we're going to set the first name to get first name. So here's another function. We're passing it the full name. And what we're doing here is we're looking for the space. So once we find the space, we're going to take everything at the beginning of that and save it to first name. So that's what this is doing here. Then we're going to send the first name, which will be, so technically if I put 3 names in there, it's still just going to grab whatever is the very first name. I could put first, middle, and last, and this is just going to grab whatever is in first. Come back down here. So that's been assigned, and then we print out, hi, first name, thanks for creating an account. Are there any questions about what's happening so far with the starting program?
Nope.
My question is going to be more of a question about the function. Actually, you just explained something that I have been confused with for a while, but it just brought up another question. So I'll wait until after the questions are asked about this project, and then I have a function question.
Okay, sure. Aiden, did you have something you wanted to add?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, so you guys are all with me? That's good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at what the assignment says. So we reviewed the code and we ran the program and we understand the starting point. Check. Create and use a function to get a valid email address. To be valid, the address has to contain an @ sign and end with .com. Okay, so, and I had to put the little comment in there. Yes, we have email addresses that end in something other than .com, but we're just going to go ahead and pretend that .com is the only one that we can get. Okay, so let's move over to get a valid email address. So the first thing that I would say we do is we create a new function and call this, what do you think we should call it?
Get email.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to do get email, and let's follow the same format that the other ones have done. So we'll do a while true, and we're going to do our input. So we'll do email equals input, enter an email address, or enter your email address, I guess. Enter your email address. And let's just do the same thing that they've been doing with the strip. Okay, so how do we find out, what do we need to have in this email address? What do we need to look for?
An @ and a .com.
Right, an @ and a .com. So let's do something that looks for, I don't know, find @ and how do we find a particular character within a string? Anybody remember what that's called?
We can
You-
use the find function or an
Find
index.
function.
Yes, perfect. So find, and then within quotations, we want to put that character. Okay. What is that going to tell us here? So what is going to be stored in find @ if it finds that?
True.
Well, let's find out, shall we?
Okay.
This is how I do things if I don't know the answer. So we'll go ahead and just call get email. Let's put it in here. Email equals get email. Okay, so let's see what happens. Nothing is going to be returned at
Should
this point.
return the index value for where the ad is found.
Yes. Just clear. Why is it doing weird things for me? Okay, so I'm gonna put my name in here, enter password, hello world 20. All right, so my email address, dina@dina.com. Okay, so it's gonna return a 4. So yes, if we are in here, the D is a 0, E is a 1, N is a 2, A is a 3, and the @ symbol is at 4. So it's going to return the index. And so this is a perfect thing for you to put a comment, right? Get the index of the character. Okay, so what if I don't have one? I'll run it again. Okay, so if I just put Dina.com, it's going to give me a -1. So if it can't find it, it's going to give me a -1. And if it does find it, it's going to give me something between 0 and however the length of this is, right? So I'm going to put that in here. Returns -1 if not found, returns index if found. Okay. So there we go. Now we have answered that question. We know what we're going to look at. I don't need to print this anymore. All right, so I know it's going to have an @ symbol, and then I need to find a dot. So I can do the same sort of thing here. Find dot, email find period, right? Or I guess we could say .com. Can I do that? Is that going to return? Can I do the full string?
It should work with the full string.
Okay.
Or it should return the first occurrence of .com.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Thank you. All right, so then we've got these. So what are we going to do? We're going to do an if statement. So if find at equals -1 or find dot equals -1, then we know something wasn't found. So check to make sure both were found. And print, please enter a valid email address. Else return email. Oops. All right. Does that make sense? Any questions about that?
Nope.
For the assignment that we're doing, we want our actual product to be a little more robust than this, don't we? Because we don't want the .com and the @ to both be just present. We also want to make sure that the string that they submit for the email ends in .com and that the @ symbol appears before the .com.
Yes.
So I'm a little confused on that statement. So then.
Okay, so ends in .com. So what we can do here is, let's think about this.
Because the code that I have is similar to that. And when I type it in, if you don't type in .com, it will continue to say, please enter valid email address. But if you type it in with the @ symbol and a .com, it works.
Okay, so what are you doing differently than what I have here?
I'm looking at it and not much. Let's see, I got my code up on another screen. So give me a second here. No, not much. I don't know who I don't know if that was Nick or Aiden that was just talking. Maybe they have done something different. Because this seems
That
to
was
work.
Ike, and I was checking to make sure that .com was the suffix for the email, and that the @ symbol appeared before the .com.
Okay, so it tells us on page 277, it gives us this exact scenario, which is nice for us. Okay, so it's telling us that we want to find just a dot, and let's see. Okay, let's see. For instance, joel@.com is an invalid email, but this example wouldn't catch that. Okay, so it looks like they are passing not just, they're not doing a .com, they're just passing a dot, and then they are passing the starting point. Okay, so it suggests that we pass the index of the @ symbol so that it will look for it after that. Okay, so for example, we've got the .com. So let's just see if this works with .com, and we want to pass it an optional parameter or argument called the name of our index for the @ symbol. So let's see if this works. Stop that. Irritating me. Okay, run it. Be sure to put a title at this. All right, so if I do Dina@Dina.com, it's going to let me go through. Let me try it the other way around. Test my code here. Let's say I do Dina.com @ Okay, so it caught that. Dina@.net. Okay, it doesn't like that. So I think it's definitely going to at hello.ca. Okay, so it's up to you. I mean, the .com is pretty restrictive. So if I did just change that to a period, that would probably give us a little bit easier of a routine. Wouldn't be so restrictive with that .com. So that's fine.
For the assignment, is it then okay if we use the more restrictive .com?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
Okay.
because I put
Great.
that in the instructions. I think the book had that in the instructions. But yeah, by just putting a period in there, that is opening it up so that there can be other things that are input.
Right.
Great. Thank you, Dina.
I mean, obviously, there's so many different values that could go in there. You know, I mean, we've got our basic .com.org.edu, but then we have all of the countries, and you know, like that's there's some 2-character ones, some 3-character ones. So that would be a pretty lengthy thing to try and restrict it to very specific values there.
Sounds like we need to create a list.
I think, but that's the thing, they add things to it.
Okay.
One way that might work is if you check to make sure that there were at least 2 characters after the period. So, I mean, if you really wanted to get even more specific, you could do that. But this is fine how we have it. Okay, so now that we have our email address, we've got that one done. And the next one is to create and use a function to get a valid phone number. And then to do that, remove all spaces, dashes, parentheses, and periods. Then check to make sure the phone number consists of 10 characters that are digits. Okay, so let's do our next function, and we will call this get phone. And we'll do the same thing while true. Let's do phone equals input. Enter your phone number. And let's just put that same strip in here. And okay, so how do we remove specific characters from a string? Anyone know what?
You
Replace.
do the replace.
Right, so we want to do a replace. So what we should probably do is put a list. Let's do a for loop. And we'll do like for character in. And then what is the list of things we want to replace? What are
It's in phone.
The spaces.
So we want to get rid of a space and a dash, a parenthesis, right and left, and period. Anything else on the list?
Shouldn't we remove anything that's not a digit? Because we're expecting an input of only digits.
We're going to take care of that next. So
Okay.
this is the first step. We're just going to go through and get rid of everything that is one of these specific symbols. Okay, so we're going to go through everything and say phone equals phone dot replace that particular character in the for loop with, what are we going to replace it with?
Nothing. We're just removing it.
Right, nothing.
Should be a null string.
So it's a quotation with nothing inside of it. Okay, so that is going to remove everything. And so now ideally, what should we be left with?
Just numbers.
So let's check that the length of the phone, to do the reverse, right, is not 10, or phone dot is digit is false. Okay, so that is a long if statement there.
Do you need both of those in that if statement? Would one just work, or if you don't have one or the other, it may not work?
If you don't have both, you're going to leave yourself open to one of those being false and then having a person able to pass invalid input.
Right, I mean,
So you could end up with a string that's less than 10 digits or not 10 digits, or a string
you're
that
right,
has letters in
because
it.
it's still a digit, but it's well if you put if you wrote 10 anyway, okay, I did it a little differently, but
and Craig, that's totally fine. There are many different ways that you could do this. You could technically set this up the same way we did the password. You could set the digit to false, and you could run another, this would probably be a better way to do it, if you wanted to check every single thing. But you could set up your values as false and then swap them to true, or do it the other way, set them up true and set them to false if you wanted to. But this is just one way of doing this. This is probably the most condensed way of doing it. You could technically break something like this up into two statements, right? You could do an if within an if you really wanted to do that, but it's nice and clean doing it this way. So if the length of phone does not equal 10, it just stops going, it stops that, and it's like, check, that works. So I'm going to print this out. If the length of phone is equal to 10, then it'll go to this next one. If phone is digit equals false, because remember, we've stripped everything out of it. So what we're left with should be just a number. There shouldn't be anything else in there unless they typed something else in there that we didn't already remove. So, and then we're going to return the phone. So let's go ahead and do this as well. I don't know why we're necessarily putting a print statement in between everything. All right, get phone. Okay, so I'm going to test this out before I move to the next part. Go. Why can't I see what I'm doing? Oh, there we go. Like, am I typing? All right. Dina@dina.com. All right, my phone number. So let me put a phone number in. Space 555-1234. Okay, so it takes everything. Now let me try and make it fail on that phone number. All right, so let's say I do something like this. Okay, so now it's going to say enter a 10-digit phone number. Even if I just do it like that without anything, it will go ahead and say that I'm good. All right, so I feel pretty confident about that. It caught that extra character that I put in that I didn't check for, and I feel good about that. All right, so now let's take a look at what we have to do next. So we've done the first big items. When all of the entries are valid, display a message similar to the one in the example, including the phone number format that uses dots to group the digits. So this is probably the hardest part right there, right? So enter email, enter phone number. Okay. Hi, Joel. Thanks for creating an account. We got that. So we need this. We'll text your confirmation code to this number. Okay, so let's take a look at how we're going to do that. We've got our email. So we need to put this down here in our main section. We'll text your confirmation code to this number, and let's try to format that. So what we have here is we can return, let's format that in the get phone number. So instead of just returning the phone, let's format it before we actually return it. I think that would be good. So how can I create a substring for a particular string? Remember how to do that? Like if I just wanted to print those first three numbers of the phone number, what would that look like?
You use the square brackets?
Yes. So just like we do with a list. So if our phone number, let's just put this in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's actually start it this way. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so those are our indexes. So we're going to start at 0 and we're going to go for 3 spaces. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So that should print out the first substring. And then I can do a plus. What do they want us to separate the numbers with when we're outputting the phone number?
I think the output used periods.
Right, period. And then we're going to do a phone. What's this next one going to be? 3.
3:6.
3. Yes, 3:6. And then same thing. So I guess this is our starting index and what we want to go up to. So 0, 1, 2. So it's not going to include this last one. So 3 through 6. And then the last one is going to be phone 6 through 10. Oh, I guess we don't even need to do the through. There isn't a 10, right? 6. So 6 colon will be start here and basically go to the end. All right, so that will print that particular phone number. I mean, so I guess we could technically just grab that and put it inside of our main, or we can save it before we send it. So we can say something like phone equals, I guess I don't need those things. All right, so phone equals, and then all of this, return phone, and hopefully that is what we need it to look like. And then when we come down to our, to here, we should just be able to put in plus phone. All right, makes sense. So we're calling it here. Oh, I need to get rid of this. So that looks good to me. Let me go and stop and run this again. Okay. Here we go. Hello. Dina.com. So I'm going to say 555-360-3030. All right, so hi Dina, thanks for creating an account. We'll text your confirmation code to this number. That looks good. So the only thing that you really have to do is the title at the top, and maybe, you know, put in a little break between a print between here to make it look a little bit nicer. But yeah, I think that that's the end of it, right? So you have creative license to display text and validation message in this program as long as you're using functions, calling them to validate your email, phone number, and outputting the formatted phone number. We're good. Ensure you have a title greeting. Be sure to have an exit message. Test and debug the program. And comment your code. Include your name, date, assignment at the comments.